Without further ado even, let's get stuck into Cheltenham. And the first of the 4 TV races is one that, for a lot of people, will be the big betting event of the day. It's the 155, it's the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup. A handicap chase in which normally it's a big field and it's a big price favourite. This time we've only got 11 runners and Paul Nicholls has got a fairly short price favourite. Frank Hickey, how do you bet on the Caspian Caviar?
Yeah, Clondalkin is 7-2, Le Prezi and the Stark Taker 6-1, King's Odyssey 13-2, Roman de Sanam, Ballyalton are 8-1, Flash of Ginge 10-1, and we're 12-1 bar.
Okay, Mark Boylan, it's your final week with us after your 6 months of being absolutely brilliant for us. And you're a better judge than Kills as well, so you're going to go first. Who's going to win it?
Well, listen, no pressure. So, no, listen, thanks very much. Look, for me here, it comes down to ground conditions. Ballyalton is a horse I have an awful lot of time for. He'd won at Cheltenham off 140 at the festival. He's only 143 now. He's a very lightly raced horse. He's 10 with a few miles on the clock. Ian Williams is having a great season. He ran a cracker in the Bet Victor. He was fourth in the end, but the ground went desperately against him. I'm concerned about it again on Saturday. And if it was to deteriorate any further, I will side with Clondalkin here. Actually, just in passing, I must mention we had our Christmas night out here last night. And David Jennings was very, very sweet on this fella, this Clondalkin. I think there was talk of him trying to pay for his wedding with this Clondalkin tomorrow. He's a classy horse. You know, and whether Quisper was cherry ripe the day he encountered him, I don't know. But he was awesome at Haydock. So look, for me, it comes down to what way the weather is going tomorrow. If we have any bit of drying in the ground itself, I'll be heading for Ballyalton at around the 8-1 mark. And if not, Clondalkin looks very solid.
What's DJ like with the drink inside him? Talkative?
Oh, David is a very social fella anyway. He's absolutely super to be around. No, we had a super night now last night. And no, everyone now well represented, thank God.
Jolly good. Kills, how do you see this one? First of all, what do you think the weather's going to do?
I have absolutely no idea what the weather's going to do. I haven't really looked.
I'll have a quick look while you tell us who's going to win.
It's going to be pretty soft ground. I mean, I do like Clondalkin. I actually put him up in our annual as one of our horses to watch. But, you know, it's a big ask carrying 11 stone 12 around there. He's only a 5-year-old.
No rain forecast.
I was just having a look at Gerald Delamere's stuff, and he said the last horse in this race to carry more than 11 stone 10 to victory was Pendle in 1974. So he's got a bit of history against him. The one I like, I don't like the Bet Victor form of the Splash with Ginger winning Le Prezi and Stark Attack second and third. And Ballyalton fourth. I just didn't think that was a particularly good renewal of that race. So I'm going against him with King's Odyssey, who was absolutely lobbing around last year in this race, came down at the 12th. I think he's been primed for another run in it. He won on Trials Day in January 2016 at Cheltenham, the novice handicap chase there that day. That was a really, really good race. In fourth was on top of 2. He's won 2 handicap chases at Cheltenham Festival since. In fifth was one for Arthur, who's obviously won the Grand National last season. And I think he's been absolutely primed for it. And he's £7 lower than he was last year, so he's the one for me.
King's Odyssey. For Keels. Who for you, Frank?
Yeah, I narrowed down to 2. I can see where Dave Jennings is coming from at Clondalkin, but it's very difficult to win these handicaps off a high mark. He's running off 155, and I think people are latching on to the fact that Whisper only narrowly beat him at Kempton over 2.5 miles, but Whisper needs further, and I'd be very surprised if Whisper was fully revved up that day. And like to put in context, Long Run was beaten in the Paddy Power Gold Cup off 158, so it'll take a fair performance to win. No, he's only 5, so he could improve. But I'm with Paul. King's Odyssey is very interesting. I'd be a bit more sweet if there was a bit of rain forecast. I think he wants it even softer than it's going to be. But I remember back in last year, and I was sick when he fell. I think it was 4 out he fell. He was travelling really well. He's won at the course before, I think as a novice, and he's definitely going to go well. But I also like Guitar Pete, and it's a bit of a strange reason why, but he was 25-1, I think, the night before the Bet Victor Gold Cup, and he was backed into 11-1. He was a bit of a mover on the show. And then when you go inspect, like the Inval fell at the first and nearly brought him down. He got detached. So the fact that he was beaten only 25 lengths, you can put a line through that. But the time before Weatherby, he won very well. Now, Samatical was returning from, the horse in the second was returning from a break. And he ran really well in the Sefton last week before he finished third. Just the heavy ground probably caught him out. But back and forth that day was Splash of Ginge, who went on to actually win the Bet Victor. Guitar Pete's on the same mark. He has some back class. He's finished third at Triumph Hurdle. He's off 134. He's only £7 higher than Weatherby. I think he looks a big price at 12, 14 to 1.
Yeah, I'd almost forgotten about him, Frank, because I actually tipped him for the bet Victor, and he just reminded me. Yeah, I was trying to remember why he ran so badly, and now I remember thinking, oh Christ, like he's been put out of the race at the first. Like I remember that now. Yeah.
Oh, he was mullered. Like he had no chance. And it's just you go back and inspect the Weatherby race, and this race actually isn't as deep and probably not as good a race, and he's gone off 11 to 1 for the bet Victor, and he's actually a bigger price here.
Disappointing only to have 11 runners, isn't it, Kills?
Yeah, I think there was like 16, 17 last year, and but you don't always get a massive feel for this race.
Okay, fair enough. Right then, to summarise, Paul Keeley goes for King's Odyssey, Mark Boylan goes for Ballyalton, and Frank Hickey takes a chance with Guitar Pete. Well done, lads. We're off and running. Let's look at the 2:30 now. It's the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. Only 5 runners. A couple of decent prospects here, Frank, at the head of the market.
Yeah, Equus Secretus is 6 to 4. Count Marable 15 to 8. Kilbrick and Storm 9 to 2. Global Stage 13 to 2. And II Charlie's at the outside of the field at 20 to 1.
Keels?
Yeah, I was looking at this race the other night, and my initial fancy was Count Marable because I thought he'd been winning quite well. But then I have a look at his breeding and find out he's by 3 Valleys. He was a sprinter, and he's going up to 3 mile for the first time. And it's not bottomless ground, but it's still going to be soft. And I just wonder whether he's not really bred to stay 2.5 mile, but he does get it well, obviously. But it just wonders to me if it becomes a real slog. And again, with Equus Secretus, he just looked like still a big baby at Southwell. Like, he was wandering around all over the place in the straight. It was just a 2-horse race from the best part of half a circuit, and he did pull it out, and he does stay well. But I would wonder whether he's man enough. And it got round to looking at Global Stage of Fergal O'Brien's. Now I'm a bit of a fan of the Fergal O'Brien stable anyway, but last year he made his debut in a bumper, ran second, close second to the horse who finished third in the champion bumper. And then he made his debut over hurdles in the Tolworth Hurdle, won by Finney Oscar, and he actually went well through that race for a long way. He only got beat 10 lengths, but probably that was a real hard introduction, and he never sort of recovered last season. But he came out and won pretty comfortably, albeit in a fairly poor maiden hurdle. But he's a horse that shapes like he absolutely wants 3 miles at least, and I think he just might improve and go past them. And he's 13 to 2 with Paddy. I think that's a fair price. Do
you like a little bit of each way in a 5-runner race like that?
If the price is big enough, I can do. Yeah.
The 3 Valleys, the thing that Richard Hills won the Coventry Bar off the track.
I think it might have been. Yeah, but it's not bred to be a 3 mile chaser, hurdle or whatever.
Okay, Frank, who do you think is going to win the 2:30?
I would be. Again, you'd have to respect Count Marable because Twisted Davis has won this twice in the last 3 years with Holdstone and Black Lion, so he normally sends a decent one. But it was 2 miles 4, 2 miles 5 at Ascot the last time he did it the hard way. But this Equus Secretus is very, very interesting, I think. First time out at Huntingdon, he was over 2.5. He did plenty wrong, but he stuck his neck out and really wanted to win, and he did. But then when he went to Sutton, he was just really tough again, out in front, and just kept on going. And the horse he beat, Another Stowaway, was second on the blind side at Aintree. Now, on the blind side was making his hurdles debut. Has obviously improved a fair bit since, so you couldn't take that form literally. But Equus Secretus relished the 3 miles and put Another Stowaway away very easily. I think he's just an absolute hardy bastard over 3 miles, and I won't go against him. I think he'll win.
Mark, what do you think?
I'd be disappointed if the Albert Bartlett winner comes out of this field, to be quite honest. It's grand. It's a fine race, but I wouldn't be getting overly excited about most of these going forward. And I'd be with Paul. I'm going to side on a tentative nod with the Global Stage. He's won a point-to-point before on heavy ground. I think that's no problem in terms of kicking in for stamina here. I think it's his first start beyond an extended 2.5 under rules. Last time should have given his confidence a nice boost. And that Tolworth run first him up was promising enough, and it probably just left him a little bit under the weather for the rest of the season. I'd be happy to have a stab at him, but I wouldn't be getting overly excited about any of these come Prestbury Park in March.
OK, well, it's early days, you never know. 3:05, the Unibet International Hurdle. This is great. Mellon versus the Old Guard of the new one, My Tenant or Yours, and indeed Old Guard. A really, really interesting race. I wish there were 8 runners so we could have a bit of each way, but you can't have everything. There are 7 runners priced as follows, Frank.
Yeah, Mellon is 7 to 4. The new one, 2 to 1. My 10 to Yours, 5 to 1. Chittabello, 7 to 1. Old Guard, 12 to 1. And we're 16 to 1 bar.
And you can go first, Frank.
Yeah, it's a very interesting race. The new one's won this 3 times in the last 4 years. At 2015, he didn't run. He's obviously going to be the one to beat, but I'm going to take a chance on Mellon. I know he's favourite, but like he's second in Supreme. He's only raced 4 times ever. Obviously a bit of a high horse. But I think if he's going to develop into, I won't say a champion hurdle winner, but I'd say a champion hurdle contender, he'll have to be winning tomorrow. And I think he might be able to. Yeah, I'd take a chance on him. Like the new one will run to 160, but I'm hoping Mellon might improve past him.
Mark, what's your view?
I think this Mellon could be one of the greatest gifts that Cheltenham going at Christmas. This going at Cheltenham, I'm very, very sweet in him. I think this horse, he doesn't get the credit he deserves. It's a real failure to acknowledge what he's achieved so far. I think people have hurt pockets from after the Supreme, and they're not quite emotionally ready to buy into him just yet. But I think 7-4 would bite the hand off you for it. You know, he's only had the 4 starts, and his only 2 defeats have come when he's runner-up in 2 Grade 1s. And I think Ruby would hold his hands up and say that at Punchestown it wasn't his finest hour in terms of, you know, chasing after Pink Shoe, cutting his own throat. But last time at Down Royal, look, it didn't light my fire hugely now, but I think he's grown. He's getting bigger as a horse, and I think he'll learn to shape more. He's very inexperienced. He'll be wrong at the weights of the new one in terms of ratings there, but I think he's going to give him a serious race. And to be quite honest, in a year where Faugheen and Bouverdaire are going to dominate the champion hurdle, I would find it very hard to see Mellon not filling that 3rd place in the champion hurdle. If you're wanted to have a stab later on down the line, I think Mellon is going to win well on Saturday in the International, and I wouldn't put you off backing him at 14s each way for the champion hurdle if you want, especially in a year where if anything happened with Faugheen, who often shows he has different bits of fragility to him outside of off the race course. I think that this fella has a right good chance, and he's definitely underestimated. Mellon for me is one of the bets of the weekend.
Oh, very confident there from Mark. Right, Kill, 3 votes for Mellon, or are you going to
no,
take
I
him
think
on?
you're all absolutely bonkers. This is
I didn't say it.
This is home ground for the new one, isn't it? The new course at Cheltenham is his course. He wins this race easily every time he runs in it. And everyone says, oh, he can't win, you know, he's not good enough to win a champion hurdle. So what? Admire him for what he is. A great Grade 2 horse who just keeps on winning them when he runs in them. He is rated 163, so he's got just about £9-10 in hand and Mellon. They're running off levels because Mellon's got a penalty as well. He's got an easier chance against the rest of the field because the penalty system has changed this year and he's actually carrying £2 less. It used to be an £8 penalty, now it's only 6. And he's run 2 crackers already this year. He's won first time up. He finished 4th in the Greatwood under 11 stone 12 off his mark of 163. You know, if people gave him more respect for the sort of horse he is, he'd be even money. He deserves to be even money. And I cannot see why anybody would want to back Mellon against him. Really can't.
Blimey, OK. Will My Turn to Yours finish second, Kills? He usually does, doesn't he?
He might finish second, yeah. He's a hugely talented horse, but he hasn't won over hurdles since 2013, I think it is.
Blimey. It's going to be a good contest. I love those horses. Right, the 340, it's the OLBG Mares Handicap Hurdle. And Frank, how do you bet?
Momelo is 9-2, Laminar Odyssey 5-1, Brilliere Momento 11-2, along with Lady Karinga. Molly Chinders is 13-2, Oscar Rose 9-1, Rivero 10-1, and we're 14-1 bar.
Kills, have you got strong fancy here?
Yeah, not a massively strong fancy, but you know, I don't know whether this is part sentiment involved here or not, but I'm sure that Venetia Williams would absolutely love to win a race around Cheltenham with Lady Karina, who is a daughter of Lady Rebecca and is the only horse out of Lady Rebecca that Venetia Williams has ever trained. Obviously, Lady Rebecca won the Cleve Hurdle 3 times. She was unbeatable virtually 2.5 miles around Cheltenham. And for people who don't remember her, when she went, her highest official rating was 170, which is £4 higher than Annie Power. So that just tells you how good Lady Rebecca was. And Lady Karina is actually pretty progressive herself. She won last season. She was 11-10 favourite. She beat Le Manva Odyssey, who was set to give a weight, but had a £7 claimer on. So if you take jockeys into account, Lady Karina is actually £6 better off. She was favoured to beat her that day and did so, but she's actually slightly bigger in the betting now. Don't sort of agree with that. Lady Karina then won at Warwick. She might not have won if the leader hadn't fallen at the last, but she really devoured the ground at the end. That was 2 mile 3. This is supposed to be 2 mile 4 and 56 yard, but it's almost 100 yards longer because of the rail positions. That'll suit her down to the ground as well. So I think she's the one to beat.
Lady Karina. Kills is quite sweet on her. Who do you think, Mark?
I'm going to side here with the Skeletons, Momella. Look, not obviously one that's coming out of left field by any means, but I was very impressed with the attitude she showed in particular last time behind On the Blind. So I was never going to win, but kept digging in very, very nicely for second. Open to mark of 134 looks manageable enough, and there's plenty of these that look exposed. And you know, I think in terms of looking forward to progression, Gomella is the one there that could go on and be a clap above them. That's where I'll side.
Do you always feel comfortable backing a Dan Skelton horse, Mark? I do. I just think, you know, he's just a great trainer, isn't he? They're just always there or thereabouts, aren't they?
I would absolutely, completely agree with you. I think he's, in terms of you can get real satisfaction in seeing a Dan Skelton horse progress. Or even, you know, when he turns one inside out there, there's a real, you know, there's some trainers there where you get one, it might take a little bit to suss them out. With him, I think it's on a very consistent basis. And yeah, I'd certainly find out from a back-end point of view that he'd be one of the more, you know, in historically profitable ones now for me. I think Dan Skelton is absolutely up there.
Frank, who's your selection?
I'm with Paul here. Well, you can make a case for Mamelo definitely on the run behind, on the blind side. Lady Karina is very unexposed. She's only had 4 runs ever. She only made her debut a year ago. Like, to put in context, she was second to Laminar Odyssey, or she was third, sorry, to Laminar obviously at Exeter, but then turned the form around at Hereford in January. She wasn't seen until November at Warwick. Won nicely. Only got £5 for that. There's plenty of, I'd say there's plenty of scope to improve for her. 120 underestimates, or I'd say she'll, like, if they go a clip here as well, she will stay on at the end. I really like her chances, yeah.
Okay.
Subscribe to Members Club Ultimate and access unlimited video replays from all 86 racecourses in Britain and Ireland.